Welcome back to another Film Geek video. Today I am going to rank the Mad Max films from my favorite to least favorite film in the franchise. Now let me express this right now. I believe all 5 of these films are outstanding movies and they all have their good and bad sides, but all in all are very good, very fun films, and I enjoy all of these movies a whole lot. It's just some of these films I'm more likely to pop in the old Blu-ray player than others. So that's kind of how I'm seeing this list. What am I most likely to pull off of the old shelf, blow the dust off of, and pop in the old Blu-ray player on a whim? That's how I'm going to do this ranking moving forward. Now, I like to do it where I go from my favorite to the least favorite because I always find it more interesting what someone's least favorite film in a franchise is, because normally most people like the same favorite film in the franchise. Everyone knows which ones have the best quality and so on and so forth, so I'm always more interested in what's someone's least favorite film. So you know what? It's enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbing on and on. It is time to get over to that series of tubes we like to call the internet, because it's time for me to rank the Mad Max franchise from my favorite to least favorite in the franchise. Welcome to the wonderful world of the internet, everybody. Let's get this started, shall we? Okay, so let's get it going with my all-time favorite of the Mad Max franchise, and that is Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. Oh my god, this was the first in the series I ever saw, and I remember this is one of those movies that I snuck into the living room late at night and turned on HBO, and this is what I saw. I got to see
the Ayatollah of Rock and Roller,
the Humongous. That's right, the first time I saw this guy, I was like, I need to see what this movie's all about, and I just sucked the entire thing in. I remember sitting there and having the volume turned down as far as I possibly could, and my face was probably this far away from the screen, trying to be able to hear and see everything that went on in this movie. I loved it. The action, of course, the violence, the campy dialogue, all of it was just so much fun. And of course, the car chase sequence. That was probably one of the most amazing things I had ever seen at this point in my life. I want to say I was 7 or 8 when I set up and I watched this movie for the first time. And if my parents are watching this video, this might be the first time they've heard about me sneaking upstairs and watching The Road Warrior. This film is just absolute bananas, and that's one of the things I love about it. Humanity really hasn't been gone for that too awful long at this point in the franchise, to the best of my knowledge, maybe 5 years or so, and people are already driving around with feathers poking out of their necks and leather from head to toe and starting to worship weird idols and all sorts of craziness. This is where a lot of the world building of what we know as Mad Max begins. All the crazy weird wasteland, the cinematography in this is also outstanding. I just really love this film. This is a top-notch, just silly, fun, all-around good sci-fi film, and again, as I said, my introduction into the entire franchise. And that's probably why it finds itself at number 1, because of course I'm always going to be more likely to watch the one that started it all for me. So that brings me to my second pick, and that gets into the more modern area, 2015's Mad Max Fury Road. This movie blew my mind the first time I saw this thing on the big screen. I could not believe what I was seeing. These amazing car chases, the outstanding stunts and practical effects, the great use of CGI where it needs to be, or for just some strange, cool shot that you just couldn't pull off any other way than using some CGI. This film starts to bring and open up the world of Mad Max to all sorts of different levels. It also does something that's really kind of fun and kind of funny too. The movie is Mad Max's film, but if we know know right out the gate that this movie has nothing to do with Mad Max. Mad Max is nothing more than just a passenger in the events that unfold in this film. The real star of this movie is Furiosa. She takes things over and Max just kind of rides it out from there on in. And this movie I was watching, and I was thinking about it when I was watching this movie recently, and it does kind of feel like that. Almost, I think all of them, honestly, the more I think of it, I don't think Max was all that important to any of the plots of any of the films in the Mad Max franchise. It always just seems like Max is wandering about, gets stuck in some kind of crazy scenario, and then he either has to help the people out or fight his way out for survival. And that seems to be how each and every one of these films go. But this one really took it to the next level. The stunts in this film, holy God. And not just that, the camera work, the cinematography, the just amazing cars and the look, the vibe, everything in this film is just mind-blowing cinema. This movie also does not ever seem to slow down. I know people say that it's just one big car chase, which yeah, you can say that it is just one big car chase. But while it's one big car chase, it tells a complete and thorough story. It gives you character development to where you start to really enjoy these characters. You want to see everyone succeed in this film. It takes characters that you were looking at as a villain and makes them heroes by the end of this movie. I mean, this film has everything you could possibly want out of a movie, period, and that's something that I absolutely love about it. Now, let's move on to my number 3 pick, and this one might surprise some people, and that is Thunderdome. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Dude, this movie takes the place at number 3, mostly because of I have very fond memories of watching this with my sisters. We did enjoy this movie a lot. It was on HBO like all the time. I swear to God, anytime you would turn on the TV and it wasn't past the 10 o'clock mark, which is when all the adult cinema would come on. No, it's HBO. It wasn't that kind of adult. We're not talking Skinamax. We're talking HBO. But anyways, that's when the more R-rated stuff was on. But normally, this movie probably played once a day at least, and my sisters and I would sit down and watch it every time. Now, this film is very different than a lot of the other movies. It has a very goofier vibe to it. It is PG-13. It has another kind of a kid vibe to it also, and maybe I like it so much because this movie came out in 1985 and I was 10 years old at the time, so it kind of spoke to me. I really enjoyed the story, and this is the one film I feel that Max was important to everything because he looked like the captain of the plane for the kids that were living in the oasis, so it made them want to move and so on and so forth. It drove the story forward, and I really feel like it's the only film that really needs Mad Max in the movie. Like, he's important to the plot of this film, and it's the only one. And for some reason, I hear that people aren't big fans of this movie. I personally like it. Now, it is a lot lower on the action, it's a lot higher on the world building, and I mean, come on, it gives us characters like Anti-Entity and, of course, Master Blaster. How can you not love Master Blaster? Of all of the characters in the freaking Mad Max world, I say Master Blaster is probably one of my favorites. So yes, Thunderdome, 1985, that is my number 3. Coming in at number 4, the movie that started it all, Mad Max. Now, the reason why this movie is ahead of the other movie down there at the bottom, I have spent a lot more time with these other films. I mean, one movie has been out, the newest one in these 4 came out almost a decade ago. So I've had a lot of time to sit and spend time with these movies. So I haven't had a lot of time with Furiosa yet. So that's pretty much why it's there in number 5. So let's get to why I like Mad Max at number 4. Now, this movie also pulled off something great great, and that was it has a much lower budget than any of the other films in the series, and it pulls off some really amazing stuff. And they were breaking all of the rules, all of the safety rules to make this movie and pull off the stunts that they put in this film. Now, I know people have a weird spot with this movie. No one really knows how it fits in, and it's strange because it was supposed to be more like Road Warrior. It was supposed to be a lot more Wasteland-like, but because of budget restrictions, they had to make this film more of a right before the apocalypse thing and not make it so much of in the world of the wasteland and all. So that's why we still have some civilization going on in this film, but I do think it kind of gives a little bit of deepness to the entire franchise by showing the world near the end and then showing just how quickly things can decline when civilization just goes to all hell in a handbasket. This film, it just, again, the reason why it finds itself at number 4 is a lot to do with the budget restraints and all the cool stuff they pulled off in this. I do really love the villain in this movie. His name, mostly Toe Cutter. I mean, Toe Cutter. What does that even mean? Does he just walk up to people and cut their toes off and they're like, mine now? Is he a dude that when he captures you, he sends you back with like a cut in your toes, so when you walk around, you're like, God damn, that Toe Cutter guy. But what a weird, fun name. In this movie, yeah, it's not as over top as a lot of them with a lot of the stunts and everything, but again, they were working in some restraints that they didn't have with the other films. But all in all, I thought that this movie does have a really good journey to its hero. Again, Mad Max is a bit kind of silent in this film too. There's not a lot of him talking, but that's okay because his protagonists in every one of these films are very silent. Now, that brings us to number 5, and that's the most recent film, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Now, like I said, the reason I find it's at number 5 is because I haven't spent as much time with this movie as the other 4 films. Maybe some more viewings, I'll have a different opinion of this movie, but I have done a full-length review of Furiosa, so if you want to get some more deeper opinions of mine on this film, go right ahead and check out that review. But let's finish this up first, all right? Yeah, this movie was fun. I did enjoy it. It had a lot of the same elements of Fury Road, but I felt like a lot of that was fewer and further between. Chris Hemsworth, despite the fact he is outstanding and his performance is great, for me personally, I think that he's one of the weaker of the characters that we have, one of the villains that we have. There was a lot of things that this film was lacking that I didn't feel in this movie. Like one of the things with the campiness of the Mad Max series wasn't found in this one. I didn't get the dialogue from Fury Road like this.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day! I had a baby brother! I had a little baby brother! And he was perfect! Perfect in every way!
That's something that I would have really have enjoyed in this movie, to just have the camp factor amped up. Plus, I didn't really feel like this was a movie about Furiosa, because she doesn't really talk too awful much. We don't have a real good characterization of her. I didn't feel like her story was all that complicated, but what this movie does deliver on is the visuals. When there is action in this film, it is outstanding. It is definitely on par with Fury Road in that regards, but in the story of this world, I feel like it was kind of lacking at this time in the viewing and all. So maybe after a second viewing of this film, I'll have a different opinion of it. But as it states right now, in the here and now, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is going to be my least favorite in the series. Well, I should say least watched by this ranking system. But anyways, guys, there you have it. My complete and total ranking of the Mad Max franchise as of right now, 2024. So thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.